Randy, and I'm an addict. I was formerly, and still am, ticket
Right.
wise, a member of Local 98, the electricians union. I'm not active any longer, primarily due to substance abuse and drug addiction. And I currently work alongside Brad at the Penn Center for Addiction Medicine and Policy, where I've taken my experience with substance use disorder and turned it into a different career from the trades and helping other individuals try to find their pathway to recovery. In 2013, I started an apprenticeship with Local 98. Uh, and when I initially got in, and I've been, just to set the tone, I have been dealing with substance abuse since I was 16. I'm in my early 40s now. So pretty much once when I got into the union, I had graduated college, and the union was a second chance opportunity for me, a second career. I really had no interest or really any plans to be in a trade union. I didn't really know anything much about it. My family raised us to like go to college and get a job in the office. That was like the expectation for me growing up. But I did all that, but I had the substance abuse issue that, you know, um, put me in positions and forced me to make decisions that prevented me from doing so, being successful in that capacity. But went to rehab for my first time, I think in 2009. Battled it back and forth, and I finally got myself together right before I went into the trade unions. And for the first 4 or 5 years, the electrical unions apprenticeship is almost a 6 year program. For the first 4 or 5 years of it, I was clean. I was involved in the trade unions AA meetings down in South Philly at that Local 98 always sponsored. I was active in AA in Northeast Philly. I had a child with a girl that I met in AA. I was, like Brad mentioned, active in the Labor Day events. I was heavily active in all the political aspects of the union. Because I was clean, and a person in recovery now, when I'm clean, I'm involved in all these positive things, right? Like I'm involved, whatever. At the time. The business manager was Johnny Doherty, and I was just really engaged in all the community things he had going on, and but I think about 5 years in, right before I raised my ticket to journeyman, because I had went back to using, and had gotten away from the meetings, gotten away from being involved in Alcoholics Anonymous, tried to kind of run Randy's own program, thinking like, oh, I got this lick. Oh, I become a journeyman electrician. Oh, I can kind of do my own thing now. I've repaired my life, and unfortunately that wasn't the case, and sometimes I always wish I had a glass to look forward and figure out what, or crystal ball, to look ahead. I guess that would help any of us in life, right? Addict or not addict. So once I raised my ticket, I had started using again, and I just basically wasn't able to keep a job. I'm not showing up to work. I'm getting hired by these pretty prestigious contractors, you name it, Fraser Electric, car, uh, Madden Electric, all kinds of Gordon, all
Big
kinds of
names.
JW Carrigan, all kinds of contractors with all kinds of opportunities for me. That's kind of been the story of my life with my substance abuse. I'm given so many. My parents worked very hard to give me a lot of opportunities in life. I get the opportunity, and substances tend to, get interjected into the situation and kind of mess those things up. Or I mess those things up by using substances, rather. Let me say that. Because I think one of the most important things about recovery is personal accountability. And as I reflect on my story, I always got to remember that those were decisions that I made. And yeah, so, as Brad mentioned, it's kind of hard to be a quality union worker at any level with an active drug problem, especially opiates. And my experience with the trades was one that, and this is what I would say generally, for people that are currently in the trades, since I'm not actively in it now, a lot of people have this perception of the trades that everyone does drugs in the trade. Nobody's clean in the trades. And that's like, couldn't be so far from the truth. If you're in the trades or thinking about getting in the trades or have some direct interface with trades, if you want to find individuals that have had former issues and are now sober, living a clean life day to day, and are high quality trade workers, they're there to be found. If you
Right.
want to find individuals
That
that
are, huh?
that are using and abusing
Right.
pills on a drug or amphetamines, that was big,
Right.
on and you can find that, but I think my message would be to this group now working in substance abuse treatment is that just because there's a perception that everyone in the trade uses, I'm here to tell you firsthand that it's not true.
Right,
There was as many people in AA and that had found recovery for, and I'm talking about long-term recovery. I'm not talking about
right.
people that got out of rehab 10 minutes ago. I'm talking about people that have been clean and sober, working in the trades, working on these big jobs where there are drugs, and they've been sober for, multiples of years. So, in hindsight, I wish I had, made a better effort to find those and identify those individuals, not the individuals that were doing nefarious stuff. But I guess that would be one of my takeaways. But yeah, and due to my substance abuse, I got my third DUI, like I think maybe like 10 or 11 months after I became a journeyman. And, there's some, minimal requirements of jail time that are required. So I had to do that. I went away for a while. And, when I went away, that's kind of was my spiritual awakening. I was like, I had a kid at the time. My parents were sick. Um, I basically had like basically thrown away a career with Local 98, thrown away a corporate career and a college degree, and that was sort of where my turning point came. And when I came home, you know, um, housing instability was part of my story. Financial insecurity, basically I had like started from zero. So I kind of like didn't get right back into the trades right away. My license was suspended, my tools were gone, so it was like really difficult to try to get back in. But by the grace of God, I found another career path, and I try to keep I try to keep my ticket active. So at some point, maybe down the line, you never know what would have happened. But the trades were very, very good to me. Um, Despite having like a well-known drug issue, there were a lot of individuals there that were willing to help. There were individuals who stigmatized it as well, but there were just as many people that were there willing to help me get through. But at that time, I wasn't really willing to help myself. So I've kind of gotten out of the trades now, and but it was a really great experience for me. Like I have a lot of respect for tradesmen now, but I also know the challenges that face individuals that work on like especially big job sites
Right.
in the city of Philadelphia, especially with the rampant rate of drug use nowadays. So I know when I first relapsed when I was in the union, like I was so afraid to ask for help. There's a lot of drug testing that go with general contractors. I think there's still a lot of stigma about I'll tell a quick story about when I was in the trades really quickly. When I was in, I think the fourth year of my apprenticeship, I think that's when I started to like dibble and dabble again. I got jammed up, had to go to rehab, and the project manager, I'll leave the name of the contractor and everybody's name out.
Right.
Um, but when he came back, when I went to treat, and like I was a pretty like involved apprentice. Like I was running different little crews. Like I was running like like a pusher on the lighting crew. So like I was like really involved. So like when I went away and disappeared for 10 days, people were like, man, where'd he go? So when I came back to the job site, it was a job we were building a college dorm, and the guy was like, when you go back to the job, I want you to in the morning meeting in the morning huddle, I want you to tell all the guys where you were. And I was like sick about it. I was like, oh my God, I don't really want to tell these dudes I was in rehab. They're going to judge me. They're not going to be my partner. They're not going to trust me. Like, trust me, blah, 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 blah. And um, I went back to the job and I basically, and this was a job of like 30 electricians. This wasn't like it was a job of like five people. And I basically was like, hey guys, like, listen, I need your support. Um, I just came out of rehab or detox or whatever it was at the time. I had an issue with X, Y, and Z. And I'll tell you, like, I thought that like more people were going to be looking at me kind of with the stink eye, but less. And I did get some of those, but it was more so like, how can we help? So like, what I mean, I think from your perspective, John, one of the messages I want to make sure I get across it. There's a lot of people who like feel like they can't ask for help being on a trade union job site because they're like, oh my God, like I might get laid off. My family needs this check. But my experience was that a lot of people were there to extend their hand to help with me in the trades, man. And I think if we can get past some people being afraid to ask for help, because I remember early on in my addiction, I was so afraid to ask for help because I thought everyone just expected quote unquote better of me. Like Oh, you went to
new
college, you got a
programming.
degree, you
Right.
have done X, Y, and Z, you graduated at the top of your class, or God forbid, you work at Penn Medicine, or like you're this or you're that. When you start to like progress in life and like because this disease doesn't discriminate black, white, woman, child,
Right.
woman, male, highly affluent, from poverty. It doesn't really matter what your background is necessarily, but if it bites you, it bites you. And if you don't have like the wherewithal or the strong enough mindset to say, hey, I'm in trouble and I need some help, you may be like doing more damage to your union career than you would be by actually raising your hand for help.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was important, and I wasn't able to do that, man. I just kept going to jobs, falling asleep, showing up late, leaving
Me.
early to this day that I met through the trades, and they knew my whole story, and they were just like instrumental in like my recovery as well, man. Like if I never had that experience with the trades, like I would have never known like what a quality career and career line being in the trades was. And there's part of me sometimes is me and Brad talk about this all the time. Where would you rather sort of be in the office, sort of healthcare? Because people hear Penn Medicine, they're like, oh my God, it's a great job. And there's pros and cons in every job, like, but there's sometimes that Brad and I would go back and forth and be like, would you rather be out there? Because there's a big job site right across from our office,
Right.
big union job site,
Right.
right? You can see it from the office. So like every day we're there, or the days that we're there, I see like the American flags. I see the guys with their hard
Right.
hats. They're walking out at 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I'm like, damn, I kind of miss that. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I'm forever grateful for the experiences I learned in Local 98. Um, about their significance in the community and their significance in the political atmosphere. My sister's a high level county politician, so just knowing the role and the value of trades is so important. But I also know that substance abuse really kind of probably damages a lot of the quality level of some potential employees that could go really really far in trade
Right.
as well. So I think that's why Brad and I are maybe in this role. If there's ever like a way for us to like partner with the allied trade,
Yeah.
and we can be like an interface for individuals that are scared to go on a job site and say, hey, I need help, because I know I was. And I'm
Right.
not
Me too.
really, and I'm pretty outspoken. Brad, I'll tell you, I'm pretty outspoken. I speak
Right.
in front of like
Me.
doctors and stuff every single day. But on the union site, I couldn't bring myself to say,
I need
"Hey,
help.
I'm messed up on drugs and I need help."
Right. Me
But that was
neither.
a Randy thing, not a building trades thing,
Right.
Medi- medication assisted treatment. But I
Right.
do know, but I will say this. I'll just take a different spin on this, Brad. I know some jobs, get a little
Right.
funny about any sort of
Right.
substances, and I'm not here to promote or put down that. But what I am here to promote is that I know a lot of the trades. I know the carpenters, the painters, the electricians. They all have meetings, like all trade people meetings. And so my one piece of advice would be to find out where they are. I don't know where they are. I haven't been at one of them obviously in a long time because I haven't been in that space in a long time. But like I said earlier, if you want to find recovery in the trades, it's there.
You can.
If
Right.
you want to find the stuff that's not going to be helpful in life, that's there too. But there's just as many people that are recovering, living high quality lives, working in trade unions than there is people that have actual current issues right now. So, if whatever you need to contact the business office or the hall or your agent, you know, um, that would be my recommendation for anyone in the trades like still struggling, and just find out where those meetings are, because there'll be a lot of like-minded guys, other
Right.
tradesmen that are there. And like I know for me, um, it helped me in my recovery process being around like-minded people,
Yeah.
people my age, people, and it doesn't matter about age, but people that have had the similar
Right.
experiences as I have. Maybe I might not be able to connect with somebody who's 30 years older than me and didn't do the same substances. I mean, and I can get something out of anyone, but I'm just saying that was always really big for me to have that support, like in the trades, and it's there to be had. It's just, I don't know if it's promoted well enough because people don't like to talk about it.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not, it's sort of if it's not my problem, it's not a problem sort of like mentality.
Right. I think it
Um,
should be more out in the open,
yeah, definitely.
More,
Especially with the epidemic that's been going on. Like,
right.
it's not a secret anymore.